right if it's pipeline. This isn't pipeline, right? This is a multi-cycle implementation. Okay, so it says of a multi-cycle instruction. Right? Multi-cycle implementation. Yes, and the picture I gave you was from multi-cycle implementation. It doesn't have any. This picture has no notion of a pipeline. There are no temporary registers in between stages, right? There's none of that. So go ahead, yeah. And we didn't even. I don't think we didn't cover much of the pipelining on this exam. Yeah. Oh, you have a question? Okay. All right. So you're lucky. I just said forget it. We'll just throw this question out. That's why your exams are out of 80 and out of 100. This is a 20-point question. So it could have killed all of you, massacred you, but I was nice and benevolent. Right? So we just threw it out. Okay. So that's why your exams are out of 80 points. But let's go over this. You need to understand how this works because you will probably see it again, especially because I was very concerned that there was that we got this one wrong. Let's see now I need this. All right. So here's the answer. All right. Okay. So these are the names of the signals. Should be the same. I didn't double check this. This is exactly correct. Register right, source. Yeah, it's all the same, right? PC right condition. These are the names of the signals. In the diagram that you have in your notes. Also, this picture, the same picture. These are the signals, PC write, conditional, PC write, IRP, memory. Somebody wrote something like, he didn't go over IRP or something in the notes. I went over every one of these, and also I told you what each of them was responsible for during at least some point in the lectures. So just because you don't get an example on it, or you don't remember me saying it, doesn't mean it's not coverable. And I asked you to read the chapters too, to see what's covered in the textbook. So be careful when you say things like that. Make sure you're right. Okay?
So yeah, did we go over IRD or because I never remember or IR right? Actually, no, I don't.
Yeah.
So when did we go over that?
We went over that in lecture, and I went through every single step by step.
But this isn't the same. This is multi-cycle.
This is multi-cycle implementation. Yeah, we did it for both multi-cycle and we did it for well, it doesn't matter because you didn't lose points. Am I right? The second thing is, if you feel strongly that you did, we can talk offline and we can argue all day, but the reality is you didn't lose any points. So I believe I said it. You might disagree, but you didn't lose any points at the end of the day, right?
Can you go back to the table? Like the table kind of outline.
That's the answer. I'm going to look back and forth between this picture and the table. Right? This table, which is not in the lecture notes, right? This is a table I created. It describes each of the different signals and what they do. Register, DST, when it's deasserted and asserted. Let's look at reg DST. Reg DST is right here, this signal right here. So when it's deasserted, it means it's the input from the third register that's named by the instruction. When it's asserted, it means it's the input from the memory data register. Sorry, the other one was called the feedback loop from memory. So it's coming back to the it's called register destination. Right? So it's set when you want the read to be to the right register. In this case, it doesn't matter. We don't care. What we're going to do here, in fact, I should just point out the important ones. The read write, right, that means that I'm going to overwrite something in the register file. I do not want that to occur on the fetch stage of a multi-cycle instruction. Therefore, it must be deasserted. The memory write, also, we don't want to overwrite what's going to be flying along the lines in the memory, so we want to deassert memory. That means it has no effect when we actually try to do the memory write. Okay? The IRD, instruction or data, should be deasserted so that the address to memory comes from the program counter. This is what's really happening on this stage, right? It's the fetch stage. So we're going to use the program counter to look up an address in instruction memory. Right? So that must be deasserted so that this occurs. If you look at the diagram for IRD, yeah, and I'm certain I went over that, by the way, because IRD determines when the program counter is used for where. I'm absolutely certain I went over that once. Sorry you don't remember. Sorry you see it differently, but I do remember. And it's because we've seen this picture before. I had to tell you what happens when the IRD is set or not set to tell you what's going to be the lookup in the memory. And this is how we change the value of the program counter based on the feedback from the memory operation. Right? So we have to set this selector in this case to deassert it so that we choose the program counter as our value as input to the instruction memory. Okay? write. This one, I also say we need to deassert, because if you you make sure that you're not going to overwrite the PC. The multi-cycle implement, and this could, I probably would have accepted 2 answers on this, but the reality is that in this case, because it's a multi-cycle implementation, you do not want to overwrite the PC. You want to maintain the PC for the duration of the multi-cycle instruction. Okay? So that means you want to make sure it's set the PC right until the last cycle, where it actually, if it's a branch operation, and the PC is going to be overwritten. In that case, then you might want to change it, but that's not this cycle. It's not during the fetch. Okay? The other one is IR write, instruction register write. You want to enable that the memory data will be latched into a place that you'll be able to use it on the next cycle. Okay? That's what's happening here. This data is coming from an instruction memory. We use the PC. We set that, deasserted the IRD. We use that to look it up in memory. The value is sent across here to the instruction register file. In the register file, we have a signal coming out of there, a selector called PC write. So we need to make sure that we're writing to that particular register, the instruction register, which is a special register that's going to hold the instruction that we just read from the instruction. So it must be asserted so that it gets overwritten during the next cycle.
What does IR stand for?
IR, instruction register. It's named, if you look here, it's named instruction register right here.
Oh.
So the IR write is whether or not you're writing to the instruction register. You want to, after you fetch, you want to write that, otherwise you lose the data. Right? So you need to write that. So the 2 key signals here were that one and the IRD. Okay. All right. Questions? Yeah.
Sorry, I might have missed it. What did you say for the PC write condition?
PC write condition.
The bottom one?
Deasserted.
Okay.
Because PC write, maybe I didn't cover it, but PC write, you don't want to overwrite the PC, right? I think I said I would actually accept a couple of different answers, because technically you could overwrite it, and it wouldn't really have any ill effects. You could argue that, but it didn't matter because I didn't grade them.
Well, that's PC write. Is PC write condition, or I don't know, PC
Did you
write?
say PC write or PC write condition?
I said PC write condition.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, sorry. I was talking about PC write. PC write condition is a no, don't care if you do what I just said.
Okay.
And I didn't care whether you, I mean, for some of these, I put don't care, but if you had picked one, I wouldn't have cared. It's don't care. If you pick something, then it just makes my solution a little bit more. It's still correct.
I had a question on the memory read. Wouldn't that be
Which one?
Mem read?
Memory.
Wouldn't that be asserted because you're reading the instructions from the memory?
There are separate memory instructions and memory. This is referring to the data memory.
Oh.
If you track the memory, I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. Let's look back at the diagram here. We have unified memory. I'm sorry. Yeah, we have unified memory. No, you can do a read and write in the same cycle. It just doesn't matter. It's a don't. I put don't care, didn't I?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, again, if you had put something else, you probably would have been okay. It's not that you got that wrong. It's just that it's a don't care, meaning it's less implementation if I say don't care. Is that what I wrote?
Like if you could, like, if you're not going to read from the memory, then how is it supposed to get the instruction? Because it has to be asserted to get the instructions.
Has to be inserted to get, asserted. Oh, this is the memory read. No, we had that already. We had the right. Actually, you might be right about that. What do you think about that? I think I was thinking this was an inserted in memory. If I got it right. Memory. No, you're right. I think I put don't care, but it can easily be inserted. I'm not sure why it would occur. It doesn't really, it seems like a don't care would still work there. Yeah, that's what you said. That's why I would argue too. So I would argue that they're both correct because the reality is that it depends on how you set the PC or not, right? I mean, you're basically reading the memory, you're latching it. If you're only doing the see, I guess my point would be you don't have to set that signal to make sure. What is it saying? That doesn't sure. I would go either view is that it occurs anyway, the read occurs no matter wherever you do the read occurs. And what you want to be sure of is you don't overwrite the instruction register. So it's this signal that really matters. But I can see what you're saying, so I would have accepted either answer. Who was next? You got it. Yeah.
I was wondering on the previous slide, I understand the 0, the 1, and the X, but have we ever had there's just a blank some places? There's just blanks on the previous slide. There's
blank just because, is that right? Blank because I wrote, once I selected it, I think it's only blank when I have a number there. Right? Yeah. Blank just means I put 1 here, so I didn't put anything there.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Okay.
So you only see that where there's no.
Okay.
So blank doesn't have any other meaning than that. I've already chosen assertive views here. You could have used, some of you use check marks and stuff, that would have worked. Yeah.
Are you gonna put this up on Scholar stuff to kind of go back again?
This? I can do that. Yeah, I don't see any problem with doing that.
That's not actually part of like one of the slides?
This particular look at this slide is not in there. This diagram, you have that already. You have that. What you don't have is this table. I'm telling you, we need to write it down now, or you can, and I can post it later. I don't have a problem posting it. Other questions? We need to move on. And for quick questions, we can take more offline. All right, because Harvey's got to go through the rest of the exam. I'm sure you have questions.
What would like the immediately important ones again? IRA?
Anyone that has a number. Right? Those are the ones that need important. Okay. The other ones are all don't care. So yeah. DC right, IR right, IRD, mem right, and reg right. Okay. All right. How are you taking it?
I just recorded that, but watch. I'm about to stop it.